Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today we are highlighting the fact that Boardgames has now launched Catharsis 2.0. They're bringing their very first published game back into the market with a reprint, with an update, with a lot of special features being added in, both for the people that are just hardcore fans that have always been asking and wanting more, and also for those of you that want to see the design continue to grow and change as the publisher has learned more about the process of creating, getting games to the table, and printing and producing other versions of their core big box. Divine Wrath arrived to backers earlier this year in the summer. We still have some projects that we're going to be featuring from that, so pay attention over the next few weeks as we put out some more gameplay videos, character breakdowns, and continue diving into what has become and continues to be one of our favorite cooperative games. This is a card-based adventure, story-driven, campaign-style game where you take the role of a number of various characters. The core box has 12 unique characters and 12 unique bosses that you can fight. It is a true solo or scalable up to 5 players, and depending on the boss, sometimes 8-player game where you are rolling dice, assigning those dice to various different ability cards. You'll never have the same mixture of abilities or same mixture of parties when you adventure out into a campaign, resolving various boss battles, trying to manage and maximize the available abilities that you have, whether it's gaining power, trying to complete whatever objective it is, overcoming your foes, and whittling down the boss's health, and of course, journeying through a adventure, narrative-driven story. There's a lot of things here that I love in a board game, and a lot of things here that appeal to a variety of players. Every single character is wildly asymmetric, both from the cards that you deal out that give you your powers and your abilities, all the way down to how they just function individually and play when you're playing as a party. Whether you want to play a ally working at cooperatively, helping and supporting the team, letting people change and manipulate dice, trying to get the most out of every single turn and roll, or a berserker who's taking the bloody advantage of all those helpful players to rip the heads off of golems and throw an axe through the heart of a giant sea beast that's rising up like a kraken trying to take down a very seaworthy vessel. This game is built off of asymmetry, built out of variability. It is designed for those of you that love exploring and re-exploring, that like seeing and testing the mechanics and the engine behind or underneath the project. It's a dice-rolling, Yahtzee-style core game system where you're going to be rolling a series of dice. You can re-roll some of those dice and assigning those dice to take various different abilities. But because of the nature of how asymmetric it is, and because of all of the different powers and shared abilities that you have, I find that it's a little bit more strategically deep and inventive than some of your other games. Oftentimes, your players or characters that you're utilizing can actually build a reserve of special powers and abilities, assign dice in a unique way that allows you to manipulate or twist and turn the knobs so that you can get exactly what you're looking for out of whatever puzzle you're trying to solve. Now, granted, if you're imbuing the blood of your enemies or slowly absorbing the souls of the slain foes that you have, or dealing more damage with the wounds that you've collected, there's always a sacrifice or a punishment that is inflicted upon the more powerful, fun, dynamic abilities that you have. So it's a push and pull and a challenging game. And then on top of that, on top of the strategic, nuanced, decision-based, cooperative gameplay that exists here in Catharsis, you also have the beautiful artwork and the narrative-driven basis. For any of you that know me, you know that Quackalope is a flavor text first, narrative-driven board gamer. I like campaigns, I like RPGs, I like dungeon crawls, I like things that let me live in and tell a story, and Catharsis does that every time I get to play. The boss that I'm fighting has a pile of cool flavor text titles and experiences for you to journey through. The characters that I'm playing through give me clues into who they are and what they're like. Flavor text is on every card, like right here. Change the value of 3 dice by 2. Great, that's the mechanic. That's the ability if I've been able to assign or manipulate. But then we have a little pocket of flavor text. I was surprised to learn something from one of you, but Dermot's magic is something I haven't encountered before. The charge was just a distraction, a very deadly and painful distraction. How can your thirst be quenched if the water is tainted? Rage infuses her target, the kind of white-hot anger that lets you think 3 moves ahead with deadly intent. Liam's hands transform into paws and claws with the size of daggers, and just as sharp, too. New strength flows into her ally. This will pay the price later, but for now, they are ready to strike again. You see, every little ability, mechanic, story-driven element that exists in this RPG-style board game, well, it's lovely. It's beautiful to behold, and it's one of the things they're actually enhancing with this new Catharsis 2.0 version. So, why am I telling you this? Well, 1, we're a fan of the publisher. 2, we have more content that we're going to be putting out over the next few weeks, and so I wanted to get a quick shout out at the beginning of the campaign to let you know that if you're interested, if you want to follow along, it's over on GameFound, which provides some interesting ways to back. You can do rolling payments. If you don't have the money on hand right now, you could actually pay it over the course of a few months so that you can support this indie publisher, so that you can help unlock some of the stretch goals, and so that you can get a copy of the game without having to, well, penny up everything that Kickstarter typically requires from you. You also have GameFound's backer guarantee, their security on games, on pledges, which is a really cool feature that they offer that I think other crowdfunding sites are starting to incorporate into their system. And you could always just start with something small, right? You don't have to commit to Catharsis 2.0, 12 bosses, 12 characters, infinite adventure. I think that's not their tagline, but it really should be. You could also pick up Divine Wrath right now. You could pick up one of these little Saga solo-only companion boxes. Everything is incorporable. And so if you haven't dove into, if you've not yet started submerging yourself under the murky waves of Catharsis, you really should go check them out. But I wanted to highlight, I wanted to shout out, I wanted to tell you that 2.0 has a lot of features that I selfishly want to see them unlock. Now, we have done and will continue to do sponsored work with the team over at Cyber Wizard Games. This isn't a sponsored video. This is a shout out to a publisher in a game that I like and support, but some of the gameplays in the past have been. You can watch those if you'd like to see Shira and I head down, I think, the murky road of the Saga adventures, and we're hoping to have more gameplays out soon. What are the things that I want to see them accomplish as they bring out Catharsis 2.0? First off, they're already going to be, from a baseline, revamping some of the ease of play, quality of life, mechanic systems that exist in this core game. Like I said, this is the first game that they designed, first game they brought out to the market, so there's some things they've learned that have been improved as they've come out with their future product. So they're going to be working on refining and tying together the keywords that exist throughout the games. They're going to be bringing out higher quality printing and easier to read text. I think they're doing a yellow against black background as opposed to the mixed colors depending on the style that they've done with some of the others in the past. They're also going to be increasing the size of their dice and redoing some of the dice artwork. They have custom dice for every single character in the game. Yes, you can buy those dice. They're a real thing. They're not cheap, but they're a real thing that you could do. But some of the designs of the dice were a little bit hard to read, so they're actually going to be increasing the size of the dice printing, the icon on the card, and making those symbols a little bit easier to diagnose. So, quality of life improvements are going to be quite lovely. They're also, I believe, going to be bringing out the scale meter that they introduced for Divine Wrath and some of these Saga games into base game Catharsis, so you can see exactly how challenging it is, exactly how challenging a boss is, how challenging a character is to play, how likely they are to be able to be competitive in a solo-only or true solo mode versus a character that needs to play with a few other characters on the table because they're more of a support-based, lend aid to other players, dice manipulating type of role. Just like any party, you don't really send a healer or a druid out to take down a dragon unless they're super powered. You need a guy with a sword or a, elf with a bow in order to take down a battle-hardened foe. So, Catharsis has these same puzzle pieces that fit together. Some characters play best cooperatively, some characters play excellent mixed together, and some characters play best solo, or at least will be the hero of the story either way. What else are they bringing? New artwork. I don't actually think they need new artwork for a lot of the Catharsis original characters, and I actually hope to see that they don't completely refine and completely change some of this old artwork. But I would like it to be a little bit more cohesive with what they've been putting out in terms of the new quality with Divine Wrath. So I'm excited to see an artwork upgrade, while I still actually selfishly want some of the cooler characters that they have to remain in their same style or flavor. So I'm interested to see how that works. But there is one thing that I have been wanting for the longest time that they're saying they're going to do if they can get funding up to a high enough level, and that's introducing brand new artwork to some of the boss deck encounters. Some of the story encounters have beautiful flavor text. However, I wish there was a picture, and I've always wished this, but I understand it's super prohibitive, super expensive to do one picture for 12 different bosses, 12 different stories. How much artwork is that going to be? It's a lot. But they're hoping that they can get the funds high enough that they can start introducing new design, new artwork, and new story-driven elements to the actual boss deck cards and encounter cards as well, which I think would just be awesome. On top of that, they're introducing more flavor text, more story, more lore. They're going to be filling out cards as much as possible with as much of the story element that I love so much. This game has a pile of lore. I mean, the rulebooks, which I've read through increasingly, have lore for every single character. They also have lore that set up the entire framework of the Catharsis world. In one of the earlier videos, I actually sat and read through all of this, and the core concept is that you have this world torn apart by gods, and all these gods have inflicted their creation, but they've also trapped and confined this one deity, and this is the dreaming of his imagination. These creations are coming from the little wisps of creative energy or power that's seeping out of his dream. While Verity slept for the first time in his existence, he dreamed of peace. Not the calm before the battle or the stillness of the dead in the aftermath. True and actual peace. He dreamed of quiet lands untouched by war and the people who would live in them. This is a game that's full of rich history and flavor text where everything is tied together but in this weird, twisted, divine way. And I'm excited to see them build more of that into the story as you play. And then finally, every single character and every single boss in this game, in Catharsis, in the original, is getting a full revamp, a full redesign, based on the knowledge and skill that they now have after designing and creating Divine Wrath and the other iterations of Catharsis, which is awesome. I mean, Divine Wrath right now is rated in the 9s on BGG. Catharsis is rating in the high to mid 8s, and they continue putting out quality product that is higher and higher. And so I think it's exciting for them to be able to go back, look at their characters, and figure out what they would change. We've seen a lot of games that have come into the market do this in interesting ways. Ivy Studios with some of the expansions for Moonrakers, for instance, or the expansion for Veiled Fate recently, redesigning and redefining a game that was already great, but with a little bit of fine-tuning became excellent. Same thing with Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven 2.0, retaking on the mission of what does it look like with more experience and more skill to bring a game back into the market, back onto the table. And Catharsis 2.0 is going to be doing just that once again. So swing over to GameFound, check it out, give them a back, give them a follow, support them for $1, whatever you want to do. Just lend your voice and resources to the cause of achieving as many of these goals, as many of these stretch goals as possible, so that we can get the best game that the publishers over at Cyber Wizard Games can create. I'm going to be making more content. Like I said, we're still getting this channel back up and running after a 2-month hiatus called Becoming a Father, which has been awesome. It's been fantastic, and it's also been a whole heck of a lot. So, we'll see you soon. Whatever the case, though, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Have a little bit of whiskey. Play a good game. And leave a comment down below letting me know what boss, character, or adventure you'd like to see me journey on next. We'll see you next time.